I keep getting notifications on my computer. Good evening. I'll just give a couple seconds here. Okay, excellent. Thank you for joining us this evening. Hi. I'm just getting everybody all set up here. Okay, good evening. I'm Claudia Loomis, president of CB Pet Market, and I'm your moderator this evening. July is National Pet Hydration Awareness Month, and summer comes with hotter temperatures and lots of outdoor activities. How do we keep our pets safe from dehydration? Hint, full hydration often takes more than just the water bowl. So proper hydration is as important for our pets as it is for us. A fun fact, our pets' bodies are made up of, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Our pets' bodies are made up of, I had to plug in my computer, sorry. Our pets' bodies are made up of 80% water compared to 60% for humans. You guys there?
Yep.
Can you hear me, Laura? Okay, great. So without a doubt, proper hydration is essential. I'm joined tonight by Laura DiGuido from Stella and Chewy's. Laura will talk with us about ways to hydrate our dog or cat outside of the water bowl, how to use hydration as a prevention for ailments and disease, and how dehydration can lead to kidney and liver issues. Before we get started, I would like to give you a rundown of what to expect this evening. The formal presentation will last about 30 minutes. This will be an interactive presentation, and during the presentation, we will ask you a number of poll questions. You will see the questions come up on the right-hand side of your screen. Our first question is appearing now. Just let us know which CB Pet Market store is your favorite. There will be plenty of time for Laura to answer questions at the end of our presentation. But you don't have to wait until the end. You can type your questions into the chat bar at any time during the presentation, and I will just read them aloud to Laura at the end of the presentation. And finally, everyone who is participating this evening will receive an email with a recording of tonight's webinar. And as a special thank you, everyone will receive a free popsicle kit for dogs or a can of Stella and Chewy cat food when you visit one of our stores. So all you have to do is show that you attended the webinar, and you get the free gift from Stella and Chewy and CB Pet Market. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Laura. Laura, please share a little bit about yourself, and let's begin.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Stella and Chewy's. Just to give you a little bit of background on Stella and Chewy's, we're a company that's been around for a little over 20 years. We started with the owner, Marie Moody, who had a dog who was sick, and she wanted to do the best for her pet by creating a raw food. And that's how we were created. She just wanted to make her pet healthy. So I see right now we have a poll going asking on if you're a cat parent, a dog parent, or both. I love seeing that we have a bunch of people who have both cats and dogs here, because as Claudia said, my name is Laura DiGuido, and I am a very proud parent of not only dogs, but I also have 3 cats who will probably flash their butt across my camera by the end of this presentation. So I have 2 beautiful dogs, 3 beautiful cats, and I also have a bearded dragon. I had this love for pets when my grandfather opened a store. I kind of grew up in it. He opened it back in 1977, and I've been working there since I was in diapers, but really since I was 10 years old. So pets just became part of my life, and they were the greatest thing to ever happen to me. And I just hope to share that education and love with all of you. So now I would like to ask you guys another poll question.
Okay, how do you hydrate your pet? I only put out a water dish. I use a water fountain. I feed wet food. I include supplements like bone broth or goat milk or other, and you can type any of the other things that you do to hydrate your pet into our chat bar. I'll give everybody a few seconds to answer. I personally, in addition to the water dish, I am a big proponent of adding bone broth or goat milk to my pet's food. Let's see. Everybody else? Oh, we have a really interesting split. 10% of our participants just are putting water into a dish. Some use it. 30% use a water fountain. That's great. Those must be our cat customers, our cat participants this evening. 10% of our customers feed wet food. 30% include supplements like bone broth or goat milk, and other. Let's see what it says in the chat box. Okay, it says other, but nobody's chatted in what the other is, which is perfectly okay. All right, Laura, I think we have a good mix.
Yeah, I am so happy and pleased with that mix. It shows like the variety that people are using, which is so great. So let's just talk a little bit about why hydration is so important for dogs and cats. So dogs and cats, as Claudia said, is made up of 70 to 80% moisture, which is significantly higher than the 60% that humans take up. Now, why is that so important? Because water is the primary component for all healthy cells. Animals can only survive about 3 days without water versus us who can go about 5 days to a week. So that just shows you how important it is for dogs and cats to be hydrated. To see if your dog is getting hydrated, you want to account for an ounce of water for every pound your dog or cat weighs. Now, water is also the most important nutrient and is required for every single chemical process that goes on in the animal's body. Water is a major component that is in blood, and as blood travels through the body, it carries the nutrients to each and every cell, organ, and muscle to make sure that each of those get the proper nutrition. Once the nutrients have been utilized and use that water, it then goes through the body to help remove any toxins and any waste through the body. So it pretty much, from the second it's ingested, it does a crazy amount of work until the second it's released in the body. Now, another important place that the nutrients get brought to is the digestive system. It not only helps the animal break down their food, but it also adds in the absorption of the nutrients. So after the food is broken down, the water then aids in the secretion of enzymes and acid to complete the digestive process. So it really is critical for every single part of the digestion process. In addition, it regulates the temperature. Now, as some of you may know, dogs and cats don't sweat like humans do. They actually regulate their temperature through panting. I know some of you might think, well, I've never seen my cat pant. Since cats are mainly more indoor animals, it does take a lot more effort for a cat to start panting and sweating. It usually comes after very rigorous activity. However, they can pant. Outdoor cats, you may see them panting as they're laying out in the sun. But I think we mainly see the dogs pant. And that's just because they're exposed to the elements much more than cats are. They can also sweat through their paws and the inside of their shoulders where their kind of armpit is. Now, when they are panting to regulate their temperature, their tongue doubles in size. And the reason it does that is that it helps speed up the evaporation of the water in their body, which actually cools them down. And it's the most effective way to regulate their body temperature and get the heat out of their body. Now, the reason why that's so important is that when you see an animal panting, you have to be very cognizant of hydrating them because they are depleting so much water at that moment. Another thing that water does and hydration does is to maintain a healthy skin and coat. As water travels through the body, one of the main things it brings it to is moisturizing the skin and keeping that skin healthy, help avoiding dandruff, and keeping their coat nice and shiny. Now, it also helps with lubricating their joints for mobility because it helps almost like oil, like a car who needs a little bit of oil and lubrication to be working properly. So proper hydration just lubricates all the joints to make the mobility a little bit better. Now, after this, I would like to ask you guys another poll question.
The next question is, how is your pet's health? My pet is healthy. My pet is overweight. My pet has problems with their liver. My pet has problems with their kidney or other. And you can chat whatever other condition you have into the chat box by clicking on the chat icon. We have lots of healthy pets this evening, which is great, and some overweight pets. We'll give it another few seconds. Okay, 83% of our participants this evening have healthy pets. 8% have pets who are overweight, and 8% have pets who have problems with their liver. Okay, so those are our responses.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see how many pets are healthy. That makes me so happy. I'm going to assume it's because they go to CB Pet Market and are so educated in proper nutrition that they take such good care of their animals. So now that we've talked about properly hydrating the pet and seeing how many of you have healthy pets is great, let's just talk a little bit about if your pet is not hydrated and is dehydrated, what that could lead to. And the reason why this is so important is because dehydration is such a big factor in health, and you want to avoid dehydration at all costs. If your dog, and I say dog instead of dog and cat because we'll discuss cat a little bit later, but if your dog is not actively drinking water, that could be a very big sign of a potential health issue. So you want to be very cognizant of making sure that your dog is drinking enough water and properly hydrating. So the reason why that's important is because of potential kidney issues. So when a cat or dog is dehydrated, their kidney recycles the water through their bloodstream. And this leads the body tissue to become a lot more concentrated. So pretty much that dehydration thickens the blood and then reduces the circulation to the organs. This causes toxin buildup and creates small clots that can clog up the lungs and organs. If long-term dehydration continues, this toxic buildup, the toxin buildup can lead to organ and potential failure as well as just organ issues. So it's so important to make sure that your animal is properly hydrated because although short-term dehydration can be fixed, long-term dehydration can lead to very severe health issues. So that is true with both dog and cat. But a little unique thing about cats is that cats don't really have a thirst drive. They actually eat their water. And what do I mean by that? So cats have a very prey model diet. They are a little less evolved than dogs because they're still considered wild animals and not fully domesticated. So when I say that, you see a lot more cats on the street as stray cats than you see stray dogs. If you see a dog on the street, you usually assume that that dog has an owner and you're going to go look for the owner. But with a cat, often you just assume that it's part of a cat colony. And that's because cats are still semi-feral. They still have that wild side. So in the wild, they're eating small animals. And those small animals are made up of 70 to 80% water. So that's what I mean when I say that they eat their water. Sorry, my dogs just came upstairs. So they aren't big water drinkers. Now, you will see cats occasionally go to their water bowl and drink water, or go to a faucet and drink water from a faucet. But that is not how they obtain most of the water to stay properly hydrated. And one of the main reasons for that is because a dog and cat's tongue are designed so differently. A dog's tongue is designed more like a spoon that is able to lap and scoop up water. A cat's tongue is designed more like a knife, and that knife just stabs the water. So even if you picture a bowl of water and a spoon versus a knife, just imagine how much more moisture that spoon is getting than the knife is, because cats are not designed to obtain most of their water through water. They are obtained their water through eating. And the reason why cat hydration is so important, even though we discussed potential organ failure and issues with kidney or liver, cats often get crystals. It's one of the most common ailments we see in cats. And one of the main reasons cats get crystals is because of that toxin buildup. It's just fostering a place for these crystals to be able to form, as well as once the crystals are in there, they need the water to help lubricate and flush those crystals out. So for cats, it's very, very important to stay hydrated, because they can actually have even more health issues than dogs with dehydration. And it's so much more difficult for a cat to get properly hydrated, since they can't obtain most of their water just by drinking. So now I have another poll question for you guys.
Do you believe your pet is properly hydrated? Yes and no. And apologies, guys. I noticed that chat was disabled initially when we started the webinar, but chat is now available. You can chat in any question at any time. But do you believe, the question in front of us now is, do you believe your pet is properly hydrated? Yes or no? That's an easy yes or no answer. I'll give us a few more minutes, a few more seconds. Okay. 73% of our participants this evening believe their pet is properly hydrated. 26% feel that they might have a problem getting their pets properly hydrated. Laura, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm so glad to see that everyone's pets are hydrated in the 70 percentile. For the animals that are not getting enough hydration, I'm hoping that we can help you figure out some ways to get more hydration. So some different ways to hydrate your pet. First and foremost is incorporating raw food. Raw food follows that prey model diet like I was just discussing with cats. So especially for cats, that prey model diet of obtaining all that moisture through their food is critically important for their health. Now, for dogs, it applies the same way of obtaining moisture through their food. So maybe they don't have to drink as much. But raw food is just modeled in a prey model diet that properly will hydrate and give the proper nutrition to all animals. Another way to incorporate more moisture and hydration is adding wet food to your dog and cat's diet. And again, you could just add it as a topper. It doesn't have to be a complete meal. I know that especially with cats, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to add wet food as just the main meal, and it's more of a supplemental thing which is totally fine. Just remember that they still need an ounce per pound of moisture every day. So even if they're getting just a little bit of wet food, maybe consider adding something like bone broth or goat's milk or fish stock or some additional water to get that cat properly hydrated. For dogs as well, especially on top of kibble, I would love if people just branched out to bone broth, goat's milk, or anything like that, because it's so full. Bone broth especially is so full of electrolytes that, especially in the summer months when a dog is panting a lot, having those extra electrolytes just hydrates them so well and aids in giving them hydration. Now, CB Pet Market also has a lot of different options that maybe we at Stella and Chewy's don't carry, like goat's milk, some fish stock, and a whole bunch of different options. So please go to your CB Pet Market and, of course, look for the Stella and Chewy products, but they can also show you a whole bunch of other ways that you can add hydration to your dog or your cat's bowl. So now I want to ask another question for you guys.
All right. The next question is, which season is most important to hydrate your pet? Winter, spring, summer, or fall, or all of the above? We'll give everybody a few seconds to answer. It seems like our participants are pretty well aware that 86% of our participants said all of the above. So, hydration is important always. And, there are times when it's even more so important in the summer because we're out in the heat, but every season is the right season to hydrate your pet. So do you want to speak a little bit more about that, Laura?
Yeah, I love this question because it's a trick question. The correct answer is every season is important, but the correct answer is also that it's so important in the summer months to hydrate your pet. And like we just discussed, that they sweat through panting and occasionally through their paw pads. So when a dog is outside in the summer months, I would say 9 out of 10 times you see that dog pant. So that means that they're losing hydration immediately. So it is so important to make sure that your dog is getting extra hydration during those summer months to compensate for the hydration and the moisture that they're losing in the hot temperature. For cats, it applies mainly if you have an indoor-outdoor cat, but if your house is a little bit hotter or notice your cat a little bit more sluggish, I would definitely consider a little extra hydration in the summertime. Now, how do we do that to keep it fun and not keep it so boring? Because in the summertime, we get ice cream and we get fun things for us. So we might as well make it fun for our pets. So we have a summer hydration that we like to use to keep our pets interested in staying hydrated and also make it a treat for them. So for cats, I like to incorporate some extra wet food. Now we have a variety of shreds, pate. We're actually just coming out with some new textures. We also have minced on its way. And we also have a huge variety of protein pairings. So that's something where you could give your cat an ample amount of variety and go between the textures and kind of experiment what your cat may like. For dogs, we love doing these bone broth ice cubes, and they're really fun if you find some fun trays like this of the little wiener dog. And pretty much you could give it just as an ice cube as a treat. I know that my dogs love just eating ice cubes, but a lot of people who spend their time outside a lot, if you fill a water bowl but drop a whole bunch of these ice cubes, it not only keeps the water cool during the hot day, but as the ice cubes melt, it's now giving them extra electrolytes, which just goes that step further versus just a regular ice cube. So I love doing those bone broth ice cubes. Another thing you could do is take that whole bone broth packet and put it in the freezer for a little while or a long time and defrost it a little bit and break it up and kind of make it almost like a slushy and give your dog a bone broth slushy. The next thing we want to do, and by far is my favorite, is our popsicles. So the way we do this is we take a pouch of our shredders and we put them in the freezer with a nice little bully stick stuck right in it and freeze it for at least 2 hours, 3 hours. Then you take it out, you give it to them. They get to have that nice, cool hydration and meat through the popsicle. And then they get a bully stick out of it too as a little bit of a long-lasting chew. So that kind of does two duties. It gives them a fun little treat and it gives them a long-lasting chew to stay hydrated. So now when you go to the CB Pet Market, after showing that you participated in this webinar, the cat parents will get a choice of free cat cans, and the dog parents can get a do-it-yourself popsicle. So you'll be provided with a bully stick, I believe, or a packet of our food, and you can make your own popsicle at home and give them a little bit of a treat.
Awesome.
And that's all I had for today. I know Claudia said that if there's any questions, she'll let me know.
Yes, and there are questions. Thank you, Laura. We have a few questions from some of our participants. They're typing in now, but let me see what we have first. Joyce asks if you could please define what actively drinking water is. You said in the beginning of the presentation, if your dog is actively drinking water. Her last dog would drink large quantities of water at one time, within a couple of minutes. Is that considered actively drinking water?
Yeah, so actively drinking doesn't mean that the entire day they have to be drinking consistently. If your dog is the type of dog that wants to house a bowl of water and just be cool for the rest of the day, that's fine. Some dogs like to just graze a little bit. Some dogs like to inhale it. I would say getting the proper size bowl, making sure you know how many ounces is in that bowl, and then just monitoring every day how much of that bowl your dog is getting. Keep in mind, if you are adding any type of hydration to your dog's plate, they may not drink as much water. But I would generally say get the proper bowl, know the ounces that are in your bowl, and just monitor how much your dog is drinking from one night to the next to make sure they're getting enough hydration. Like I said, some dogs will just drink the whole bowl. Like my bloodhound will drink it right after dinner. Bowl will be clean. My small Jack Russell will take little sips here and there. So it depends on the dog, but as long as the quantity is fulfilled, you should be good.
Right. And that's why the statistic that you gave earlier about it's 1 ounce per pound of body weight is important, because if you measure the amount, just takes a few days to measure the amount of water you're putting in the bowl to gauge whether they're getting enough out of their water bowl. But if your dog is drinking large quantities of water multiple times a day, that might be an indication that there's a health problem. So that's something to be to consider. Okay. Carly asks, is it okay to use tap water for pets generally? If not, what is the best source of water to use?
So we have a pretty good, I'm in New York. I can't speak for New Jersey, but in New York, we have some pretty good quality tap water. So tap water is okay to feed. I have a filter in my refrigerator. I choose to do that just to give them better quality water. I can't speak for the water in New Jersey, but I think it's pretty similar. Claudia, is Jersey water as clean as New York's water?
Jersey water is okay, and some of us here have wells and septic systems that our water goes through, or some we have an issue with hard water here in New Jersey. So I filtered water is good, but tap water is always good. What might not be the best is puddles and I apologize, my dogs are barking in the background. You got to be careful drinking out of puddles and standing water in your yards, because standing water could create bacteria, and microorganisms can live in standing water. So the water that you feed should be from a tap, from a source that was running, is the only caveat that I would say to our water here in New Jersey.
Okay, so then I would say that tap water is fine for New Jersey.
Yes.
Obviously, filter's great, but you're not doing your dog major harm or anything crazy by doing tap water in New Jersey. Maybe if it was in some other areas, I may be concerned, but if it's in New Jersey, then I think you're pretty safe.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth asks, is drinking a little bit of soup once a day enough to help?
I think it depends on the size of the dog. And what exactly soup means. If a soup's a lot of bone broth and stock like that, that's great because it's extra hydration through electrolytes. But I think it depends on the size of the dog. If you have a little Chihuahua or a Terrier and they drink a little soup every day, that's great. But if you have a big dog, they definitely need to consume a lot. I would also try to make sure that your dog gets some plain water, maybe adding that to the food for extra hydration. I know electrolytes are great, but you also want to have some regular water.
Yep. Anthony said a lot of humans are improperly hydrated. That is the absolute truth, Anthony. And then he goes on to ask, what is the best way to hydrate my dog on a hike? With a water bowl or one of those water bottles with a roller top on it? Thank you.
So I think they have this water bottle that is kind of like attached to its own bowl that you could kind of open it on the go. Do you know what I'm talking about, Claudia?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they have these bowls that are attached to a water bottle, and you can add some maybe bone broth ice cubes into the water to keep it cool on such a long hike. But I feel like that's very convenient because you don't have to sit there, stop, put a bowl on the ground. It's kind of attached where you can kind of just hold it down to your dog for easy access at all times. The roller bottle, I kind of feel like they're not getting as much hydration as they would just from a bowl. And in something like a hike, you want to make sure they're getting extra hydration, not less.
Right. I agree. I think I always carry a pet water bottle with me. It's a metal bottle, but the cap screws off, but it's also a vessel to hold water so that they can get a few laps of water in. What I like about using that is I can bring the water bottle and I can drink out of the bottle directly, and they can drink out of the cup attachment or bowl attachment to that. And that way I don't have to bring a bottle of water for the dog and a bottle of water for me. Though I have done that as well. So, but I agree, the roller bottle top, I'm not sure that you're getting enough hydration or enough water through that while the dog is exerting itself.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Kat asks, K-A-T, aren't there health risks to providing water that is too cold, like a slush, when dogs are overheated?
So I think if a dog is severely overheated, you definitely don't want to douse them in ice cold water. What I'm suggesting is more like keeping the water cool or giving them that slushy before they're at the point of being overheated. I think the goal is to not get to them to that point where they are so severely overheated, because then you do have to worry about cooling them down, and overheating can lead to health problems, even if it's just temporary health problems. So I think the goal is to avoid that by giving them that slushy in the beginning of the day to properly hydrate them before they start panting, or just use the ice cubes to keep their water constantly cool, not ice cold like it's been in the freezer all day.
Okay, agreed. So Doreen asks, is there such a thing as a pet drinking too much?
Yes. If your pet is constantly drinking, that could also be a sign of a health issue. Now, I'm talking about where your pet is drinking too much. One of the most common things I see linked with a dog drinking too much is diabetes. That's one of the first things that comes to mind. However, there could be a host of other health problems going wrong with a pet that is drinking too much. I would also try to do things like check their gums and see how their gums are. When a pet is dehydrated, their gums get very, very pale and very gummy and sticky. You also want to check their nose, make sure their nose is wet and not dry and flaky. Because if you do see your dog drinking a lot, but still have these symptoms of potential dehydration, that could be something serious. So whether your dog is dehydrated and can't seem to keep themselves hydrated, or is drinking so much because there is a health problem, drinking too much can be an issue. Can be. Doesn't mean it has to be, but it can be.
Okay.
I found this on the web.
Laura,
Sorry,
Laura asks, that's okay. Laura asks, and this is like a problem for us people who have multiple pet households. She has 4 dogs that she takes care of. And how do you adequately check that each of them is being properly hydrated?
So I would definitely say doing that general ounce per pound, making sure that you have that much water out, and then seeing how much you end up with the end of the day. It's a hard thing to sit there and make sure each individual dog. But if you put out an ounce per pound for every dog and you notice that they're not going through it, then maybe at mealtime when you feed each specific dog, maybe incorporating hydration there. You could use all those goat's milks and bone broth and all those other options, or you could just go as simple as adding water if you have to do it for every mealtime, because generally they will eat their food. The water will absorb with their food, so they're getting it, but they will also most likely then drink the water at the bottom of the bowl.
I with multiple dogs in my household, I actually have multiple water bowls out in the house, so there's no there's no waiting. So in 3 separate rooms of the house, I have in the dining room I have a water bowl, in the room where I feed them I have a water bowl, and in the sun porch I have a water bowl, which helps which allows me to know that there's enough water in each of those bowls for each of the dogs. Robin, responding to Laura, says she uses a camera. So, that's a good thing too, if you have video in your house, you can just check how often each of the dogs are heading to the water bowl. or just doing even, while you're in the house, do I only see one dog drinking water and I never observe the other dogs drinking water? That's a good sign too, right? So, and then I have a question. What about fruit? Fruit is high in moisture. Is fruit an allowable treat to help hydrate a pet?
Yes and no. So there are some toxic fruits like grapes that you absolutely want to stay away from. But if you are giving your dog, like, let's say, some watermelon, I know dogs go crazy for watermelon. They are so full of moisture that it's a nice little treat for them, as well as giving them some hydration. I don't want to condone giving table food because that definitely sets a bad precedent for the dinner table time. But maybe putting some cranberries are also really good for urinary tract. Blueberries are great for antioxidants. Watermelon is great for just some fun hydration. So I definitely think you can do that. You don't want to overdo it because fruit does have sugar and dogs do not need sugar in their daily lives. So I would definitely monitor that, and also make sure before you feed any food that you check to make sure that it's not toxic to that animal.
Right. Laura says that she gives frozen blueberries and peaches that her vet recommended. So and berries are great because they're lower in they have less sugar, and watermelon is sweet, but it's got a tremendous amount of water. And yes, dogs love watermelon. It's pretty amazing actually to watch. So out of all the fruits, they decided that was the one that they would like the best. So
yeah.
I think that is it for our questions this evening. We would like to thank everybody for attending this evening. Please, when you get your email with your webinar recording, come into the store and show one of our team members, and you'll get your free popsicle kit. Or if you're a cat owner, you'll get cat food, some Stella and Chewy cat food. So, and the popsicle kits are fun and easy. And it's 2 treats in 1, which is awesome. So, Laura, I would like to thank you very much for taking us on a tour of proper hydration this evening. If anybody has any questions that they think of it when the webinar is over, please don't hesitate to email them to me. When you get your webinar recording, you'll also receive an email, my email address, and you can feel free to email your questions to us, and we'll be sure to get them answered. So thank you all for participating this evening. Laura, any final words?
I just want to say thank you, everyone. I'm so glad to have done this. And if any of you give your cat the wet food or your dog the popsicle and get any cute pictures,
that would be fun.
Please show them to CB and send them to CB so I can have them, because I love seeing photos of animals enjoying Stella and Chewy's.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Night.